Picture this: Moscow, 1973. A cold, grey city in the heart of the Soviet Union. In a small apartment, a baby boy is born to a family who carries a secret dream. A dream of freedom. His name, Sergey Brin. No one knew then that this child would grow up to change the way humanity accesses knowledge forever. Sergey's father, Michael, was a mathematician, brilliant, thoughtful, but held back by the system. His mother, Eugenia, was a researcher at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, but that would come later. In the Soviet Union, Jewish families like theirs faced discrimination that limited their education, their careers, even their basic rights. And that discrimination shaped young Sergey's first lessons about the world. He learned early that rules aren't always fair, and that sometimes, to find freedom, you have to fight for it. Imagine being 6 years old, and your parents make the most terrifying decision of their lives: to leave everything behind, their home, their jobs, their relatives, and emigrate to a strange country. That's what happened in 1979. When the Brin family left the USSR, seeking a new life in the United States, the plane that took them out wasn't just carrying passengers. It was carrying dreams. Landing in America wasn't easy. Sergey didn't speak much English. He was a shy kid with thick glasses and a curious mind. School was a challenge at first, but that challenge became fuel. He devoured books. He explored mathematics and computers with a passion that shocked his teachers. His father encouraged him to see beauty in equations, while his mother encouraged him to ask questions about how things worked. By the time Sergey entered middle school, he wasn't just catching up with his classmates, he was racing past them. People started to notice that this kid had something rare, a mix of sharp intelligence and relentless curiosity. At science fairs, he stood proudly next to his projects, explaining them with a quiet confidence that hinted at the man he would become. But childhood wasn't all victories. There were lonely days where Sergey struggled to fit in, where the accent, the glasses, and the immigrant story made him feel different. He later admitted that these moments shaped his hunger, his desire to create a world where knowledge was free, where opportunities weren't blocked by walls of ignorance or prejudice. Little did Sergey know, his future partner in building that world, a man named Larry Page, was growing up in Michigan at the very same time, sharing the same hunger for innovation. Their destinies were quietly aligning, and soon those two lives would collide at a university campus, starting a friendship that would transform the internet forever. Fast forward to the early 1990s, Sergey Brin, now a young man, walks through the halls of Stanford University. The shy, curious boy who once struggled to speak English now navigates one of the most prestigious universities in the world. But he's not here to simply follow the path laid out before him. Sergey is searching for something bigger, something revolutionary. It was in the quiet corners of the computer science department that Sergey's path collided with another mind equally hungry for discovery. Larry Page. Their first meeting wasn't cinematic fireworks or instant friendship. In fact, the two argued, debated, and challenged each other relentlessly. But there was a spark, a recognition of equal brilliance, a silent understanding that together they could do something extraordinary. Sergey and Larry began experimenting with ideas, poring over stacks of research papers and testing algorithms late into the night. The campus dorm rooms became laboratories, their laptops glowing like lanterns in the darkness. They faced skepticism from professors and peers who called their ideas impractical, even impossible. Many nights ended in frustration, computers crashing, code failing. Yet, every setback was a lesson. Every failure sharpened their resolve. Sergey often recalled the emotional toll of those early years. There were days when doubt gnawed at him, when he questioned whether leaving the Soviet Union and sacrificing so much for this dream had been worth it. Sleep was scarce, pressure was constant, and the weight of expectation pressed down like a mountain. But in those moments, Sergey discovered something essential: resilience. The ability to push forward even when the odds are stacked against you. It was during one of these intense research sessions that the idea for Google was born, a search engine that didn't just list results, but ranked them according to relevance, creating a map through the endless sea of information on the internet. Sergey and Larry called it Backrub at first, a playful nod to the way their algorithm analyzed links. But even as they laughed over the name, they knew they were standing on the edge of something world-changing. The next step was perhaps the hardest: turning vision into reality. Funding, development, and trust were scarce. They knocked on doors of investors who shook their heads. Some friends warned them to give up, to settle for safer paths. But Sergey's voice, calm yet unwavering, would often echo through those small offices. "We're onto something that will change everything." And slowly, very slowly, the first seeds of Google began to grow. In those moments, Sergey Brin revealed a side of himself few saw. Not just a genius programmer, but a dreamer, a fighter, a human willing to bear failures, ridicule, and uncertainty, all for the chance to transform the world. The foundation of Google was not just built on code. It was built on courage, persistence. The scene opens with a cluttered garage. Computers hum, papers are scattered, and two young men sit hunched over screens, eyes fixed, fingers flying across keyboards. The narrator's voice breaks in calm, yet charged with anticipation. 1998, Menlo Park, California. Sergey Brin and Larry Page had a dream and a garage, but nothing else. No billion-dollar investors, no brand recognition, just a belief that information should be free, organized, and accessible to everyone. They had already faced rejection after rejection. Venture capitalists shook their heads, saying the internet was too chaotic, too unpredictable. But Sergey didn't flinch. He saw what others couldn't: the potential to turn a tiny algorithm into a force that would reshape human knowledge. Days blurred into nights. The two worked tirelessly, coding, testing, refining. They faced bugs that crashed their servers, algorithms that failed, and moments of doubt that threatened to derail everything. Yet, each obstacle became a lesson. Sergey often reflected later on how those early struggles taught him patience, focus, and the value of embracing failure. And then, the breakthrough came. Their search engine, soon renamed Google, began gaining traction. Users loved the simplicity, the speed, the uncanny accuracy of results. What started as a small project between two grad students exploded into something much bigger than either of them had imagined. The first office was tiny, a converted garage with barely enough space to breathe. But inside, the air was thick with energy, excitement, and ambition. Sergey's calm, analytical mind balanced Larry's audacious ideas, creating a synergy that became the heartbeat of Google. But success didn't erase the struggles. Funding was scarce, the workload immense, and the pressure relentless. Sergey often worked late into the night, sometimes